About a half an hour later, Scooby and the gang had decided to check in at the hotel while the Hex Girls stayed at the park to keep rehearsing. "We're gonna put a spell on all of you." The girls finished before throwing and puffs their smoke into the ground. Thorn let out a labored breath. She was more than tired. "Let's try that one again," she said to her bandmates. "Come on, Thorn, we've rehearsed that song like 4 times already," Luna complained. "Hey, practice makes perfect." Dusk saw how tired Thorn looked. "Okay, seriously, you look tired and exhausted," she said. "I'm fine, let's go again," Thorn insisted. "You don't look fine to me," Dusk added. "Yeah, girl, you look like you're about to collapse," Luna agreed. Thorn noticed the worried look on her friends' faces. She sighed. "All right, let's take a 10-minute break," she said. She walked over by a nearby cooler and took out a water bottle and sat down in one of the chairs. She felt very relaxed when she sat and took a drink of cold water. "God," she sighed, and she held her hand to her head as though she was checking for a fever. She then put her elbow on the armchair and then rested her head on it and shut her eyes. These pills were keeping her asleep, but in a way, they made her want to sleep even more. "Hey, Thorn, have you seen my drumsticks?" Luna asked. Thorn slowly opened her eyes and looked over the drum set. No, didn't you just have them? Check near the drums," she answered. Luna bent down and near the bass drums and grabbed a hold of something. "Oh, there they are," she said. As she pulled back up, in her hands were not drumsticks, but large gloves with knives attached to their fingers. Thorn jumped back awake as she dozed off for a second there. She looked around only a couple of seconds, have seemed to pass by. On Elm Street near the house number 1428, Mystery Inc. stood outside of the crime scene while police still looked around the area. After checking in at the hotel, Fred Velma had decided to take the gang over to what had gone on. "Does anyone have any idea what happened here?" Fred asked a rather young police officer. "No idea. This kind of thing's been happening all the time. I hear something like this that started in 1984, the officer answered. "And they believe this guy, Freddy Krueger, had something to do with this?" Velma asked. I don't know what to believe," the officer says. "It sounds like a little impossible." "Why?" Daphne said. "Well, let's just say a long time ago, Krueger was a murderer, and when the parents found out, they even decided to get even, so they burned him alive." "Jinkies," Velma said. "Like, that's brutal," Shaggy said. "Yeah," Scooby agreed. "So, what do you think would really happen?" Fred asked. "Well, right now we're going with some kind of break-in, but we can't find any signs of struggle or fingerprints, so," the cop said. As the officer walked away, the gang all looked at each other. They had no idea what to make of this. "What could be going on here, Freddy?" Velma asked Fred. "I don't know. None of it makes any sense. Why would Carly keep complaining about a nightmare about Krueger?" Fred asked. "Like, maybe she's living in a creepy house where bad stuff happened?" Shaggy suggested. "What do you think, Velma?" Daphne asked. I don't know," Velma said, puzzled. What was Velma supposed to think? A girl dies from some kind of nightmare? Velma had heard about nightmares causing heart attacks and people dying from it, but never actual inflections to the body. Could Carly have actually dreamed about it and having her throat slit, and that caused it to happen for real? That night back at the park on stage, the Hex Girls continued rehearsal for the song. "All right, girls, Trap of Love," Thorn said. Luna put her hands together on the keyboard and began the song. Soon Dusk's drums and Thorn's guitar joined in with the mix. While the girls were singing, a couple of workers were on the ground checking out the stage. "Are you sure you tightened the bolts on the stage enough?" one of the workers asked. "That one looks pretty loose." He pointed out at one of the lights, just above where Thorn stood. "I'm sure, boss. It's safe," the other guy responded. On the stage, Thorn was so tired that she actually started to feel kind of sick. She was having hot and cold flashes and didn't want to sing anymore, but she knew she had to. Thorn continued singing, but she just shut her eyes for a second, and when she opened her eyes, across from the stage on the grass sat Freddy Krueger on the chair, watching her perform. He did have the most evil smile, showing his blood-stained teeth as he clapped his gloved hands together with his burnt one. Little did Thorn knew in reality that the stage light worker had said the Titan loosened and loosened even more as the Trap of Love finally reached its final verse. But as the song ended, the stage light loosened one last time before it completely came loose. Thorn, still daydreaming, didn't even notice until one of the guys yelled, "Hey, watch out!" She quickly came back to reality, looked up and realized what was about to fall on her. She shrieked and instinctively fell backwards. She hit the ground just as the light shattered on the stage floor. Dusk and Luna and the other workers hurried over to Thorn just to see if she was okay. "Thorn, are you okay?" Dusk asked. "Yeah, I'm fine," Thorn answered, sitting up. Would you stop playing and saying you're fine? You're not! That light almost took you out!" Luna said. "Maybe we should call it a night," one of the workers suggested. "No, guys, I'm okay, really," Thorn insisted. She then looked at everyone and saw the faces they gave her. "Don't look that fine to me." She stood up. "Look, I'm just gonna go for a walk." "A walk? But it's 10 o'clock. Let's just go back to the hotel," Dusk suggested. "It's okay. I'll be fine. I'll be back before you know it," Thorn said as she walked off. "Man, what's her problem?" Luna complained. "I guess she's just under a lot of pressure," a worker said. "Yeah, but aren't we all?" Luna asked. "She's acting like a loose cannon. She really shouldn't be alone right now." A few minutes later, Thorn walked on the sidewalk through a neighborhood she didn't know. She already was regretting her decision to go on this walk alone, especially at this hour. The cool breeze in the air kind of felt relaxing though. What she really needed was some sleep though. As she walked along the sidewalk, she could hear something that sounded like little girls singing. She looked across the street and saw, at least a thought, a group of little girls jumping rope. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. Thorn wondered why those girls were singing that. She was certain that she heard it before. But where? "Hello, Sally," a creepy voice beckoned from behind Thorn. She prayed she thought it wasn't, but when she turned around, it was. "Who are you?" she asked. "You don't remember?" the ghoul asked. Thorn then just stared at him. She knew fully who this guy was well, and she didn't just want to admit it. "Freddy?" she said. "Bingo. What do you want from me?" "You're even more beautiful than the last time I saw you," Krueger said, ignoring Thorn's question. "You don't scare me," Thorn lied. "No?" Krueger asked. "I doubt that." He got closer and sniffed her hair. She winced. It was horrifying. She then held her face with his gloved hands, gave her a kiss on the forehead. "Time to play, bitch," he said, before shoving her to the ground. "You have until the count of 10. He then turned around and began to count. Thorn took this opportunity to run away. She bolted across the street as fast as she could. Wearing heels made it really limiting her speed. She then looked back for a second and saw the bastard running from her. She was screaming now. She then looked back again but saw no one. She shrieked again as she ran into someone. "Scott!" she yelled. She realized who it was. "Oh, sorry, Thorn," he said. "Yeah, no problem," she responded. "Hey, listen, I heard what happened. Are you alright?" "I think so," Thorn hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe they're right. I might be just losing it." "Well, I wouldn't say you're losing it," Scott said. "So what are you doing here?" Thorn asked, trying to fix her ruffled hair. "I sort of followed you. You were spazzing out for a second ago." Thorn felt embarrassed. She really had fallen into deep sleep while walking? This was getting really out of hand. "Sorry," she meekly said. "Hey, it's cool. I'm just wondering if you're all right." "Yeah, I'm good. I just need some sleep, I guess." "Come on, I'll walk you back." They walked back along the sidewalk, heading for the park. Just when they got back, Scott decided to speak. Listen, Thorn, I've been thinking, and I was kind of wondering if you'd like to go out with me sometime," he shyly said. Thorn was a little caught off guard by this. The last thing she had in her mind moment was dating. She sighed as she was used to having guys ask her out. "Look, Scott, you're a nice guy and everything," she said. "But," Scott asked, "but I really don't have time for boys right now. You know, with the band and stuff." "Oh, yeah." Scott felt a little silly now. He couldn't believe that he asked her in the first place. You know what? Just forget it. I said that, he said. I'm sorry. No, don't be. Totally not your fault, I guess. I'll just see you around there later, then? With that, he left, leaving Foreign feel kind of guilty for not taking Scott up on his offer. That night at the Four Seasons, the gang had constantly gone in their room that connected with the Hex Girls. In their room, they were all sound asleep. Scooby and Shaggy had snored simultaneously and slept peacefully, while the rest of the gang in the Hex Girls' room, however, while Dusk and Luna were getting plenty of rest, Form was having a terrible nightmare. Sally, she could hear her in her dream. It was the voice of Freddy Krueger. Foreign couldn't take these dreams anymore. She woke up in cold sweat and screamed loud enough to wake up the dead. Everyone in the room jerked awake. Dusk turned to the light. What? What's wrong? Luna asked. Foreign was literally shaking in fear. I'm sorry. Just a bad dream, she said. There was a knock on the door connecting to the room. Dusk got up and opened it. It was Fred, Shaggy, and the rest of them. What's going on, guys? We heard screaming, Fred said. They looked over to the bed and saw how scared Foreign looked. Velma walked over to her and placed her hands on Foreign's shoulders to comfort her. Foreign, what's wrong? She asked. Nothing. I'm fine. Foreign trembled. She had a nightmare, Luna said. You look pretty spooked for it to be having a regular nightmare, Daphne said. It was Freddy Krueger, Foreign admitted, the mystery and gasp. Like the same guy that Carly girl was dreaming about, Shaggy asked. Rhea, Scooby barked. Foreign nodded. I keep dreaming about him, and I don't know why, she said. Maybe it's because of what Scott said, Luna suggested. No, I've been having these nightmares for days, and I couldn't stand them, so... Foreign took out the capsule of pills out. I've been taking these to stay awake. You've been taking deoxin? Velma asked in shock. What the heck is that? Shaggy asked. It's some sort of empatame. It helps keep you awake for hours, but it's extremely addictive if it's used improperly, Velma explained. How often have you been taking them? I don't know. As soon as one wears off, Foreign answered. You need to stop taking those pills, Foreign. They're doing more harm than good, Velma cautioned. No, I need them. Please don't make me put to sleep, Foreign pleaded as she began to cry. I can't have another nightmare. I just can't. Foreign, calm down. You'll be fine, Luna said. Just go to sleep now, and tomorrow you'll feel a lot better. It's not the sleeping that's causing you to have these nightmares happen. I think Luna's right, Foreign. You need some rest, Fred said. But what if I see him again? Foreign asked. You won't, I promise, Luna assured her. Okay, I'll try, Foreign said. Good. Get some rest. We have performance tomorrow, Luna said, getting back into bed. Good night, girls, Fred said, before he and the others went back to their own rooms. Dusk then turned on the lights off, and before anyone knew it, she and Luna were back to sleep, but Foreign wasn't. She couldn't get any more sleep that night. The next day at the carnival, the Hex Girls' performance was less than ideal. Foreign appeared to be tired the entire time. They were very noticeable, bags under her eyes, and her singing was really off. When Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air finished, the crowd mostly clapped out of courtesy, of course, since Foreign's voice was really sounding strained and had been for the past half hour. We're going to take a little break. Don't go anywhere, Foreign told the crowd. Behind the stage, she reached into the cooler and got out a water. She cleared her throat before taking a huge swig. Her bandmates Dusk and Luna walked up to her with folded arms. What was that? Luna asked. What? Foreign asked, pretending to not know. You totally blew it on that last one. That song we made saying we do not care, it looked bad. But you sounded bad, Luna said. Sorry, my voice just feels really scratchy, Foreign said, taking another drink. Probably just from being tired, girl. Don't tell me you were awake all night, Luna said. Foreign did not answer. She just started to drink more water. Oh no, you weren't, were you? Dusk asked. It's okay, it's no big deal, Foreign said, walking over to a chair to sit down. Yeah, it is a big deal, sister, Luna said to her as Foreign sat. You said you wanted everything for this festival to be perfect. Now, when it's time to perform, you're only the one who's lagging behind? You needed to get together, Thorn. Seriously, Dusk said. Thorn quickly stood. Would you guys get off my back already? I get it. My singing was off, but I'll do better, okay? She said, before stomping off. Her bandmates sighed and they watched her go. While Scooby and Shaggy were off somewhere, eating cotton candy and hot dogs, obviously still trained for that competition was 2 days away, Fred and Velma and Daphne rode the Ferris wheel. They watched the performance stage get smaller and smaller as the wheel ascended into the air. Guys, I'm really starting to worry about Thorn, Daphne said. Did you hear how her voice sounded in that last song? Yeah, I don't think she's doing well either, Fred said. I saw. She did have bags under her eyes this morning. She must have not slept at all last night, Velma said. Can you really blame her? Her nightmares really sound spooky, Daphne said. She's gonna have to sleep sooner or later, or she's gonna start having micro naps, Velma said. That's if she hasn't had them already. Micro naps? What are they? Daphne asked. When you're deprived and your body of lack of sleep a certain amount of time, your brain starts to have dreams, even while you're awake. If it's sustained, it could lead to a coma, Velma explained. Do you really think she'd be really afraid of that Freddy so much that she'd risk it? Daphne asked. After the way I saw Thorn last night, I'm gonna have to say yes, Velma said. Down on the ground, Shaggy and Scooby walked with cotton candy all over their lips. Like, we're so gonna dominate that contest, Scoob, Shaggy said. Yeah, dominate, Scooby agreed, before burping loudly. Hey, Scoob. Yeah, Reggie? You don't think that little weird, that Carly girl had dreams about Kruger Creek before she died, and now Thorn keeps dreaming about him too? Yeah. Like, what if Kruger came back from the dead and somehow has the ability to invade people's dreams and kill them from inside? Shaggy said. They all stopped and looked at each other, but then they burst out laughing. What ridiculous thing to say. Scooby-Doo almost fell over. He was laughing so hard. Like that could ever happened. Shaggy laughed. That night back at the hotel in the Hex Girl's room, Scott was in there with them, while Thorn was busy with a bowl, trying to prepare something. You guys were awesome today, Scott said. Screw off, Scott. We sucked, and you knew it, Luna said, sitting on a chair. We'll do better tomorrow, Dusk said. Yeah, if Thorn ever gets any sleep, Luna added. Scott saw how stressed Thorn looked and walked over to her. Hey, are you not sleeping? Is that a problem? He asked. Yeah, I'm not sleeping, Thorn responded as she walked past him. Why not? Scott asked. She thinks she's going to have more nightmares about Freddy Krueger, Luna said. What? Is that all? Scott asked. Thorn, come on. Krueger was a lightweight, and he was just some twisted, sick person. You don't need to be afraid of him. Thorn didn't take anything seriously at all. As long as she dreamed about him, she would be afraid. He didn't look so tough anyway. I've seen pictures of the guy. I could probably take him out easy, Scott gloated. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, Thorn said. Hey, I know what you could do. Just imagine me in your dream of me protecting you from him, Scott said. All right, Scott, don't you think it's time you left now? Luna asked. Well, I guess I'll see you guys in the morning. Hey, Thorn, sweet dreams, Scott laughed before leaving. Luna shut the door behind him. God, so annoying, she muttered. With the bowl in hand, Thorn put the peppermint and cloves and the herbal remedy in. She breathed hard and her throat felt slightly a little better. That can only help you for so long, girl. What you really need is rest, Dusk said. I told you I can't, Thorn pressed. Thorn, this is crazy. Don't you get it? It's the sleep deprivation pills that is making you act this way, Luna complained. Who needs sleep? Thorn asked, taking out her capsule of dioxin. When I have these. With that, she popped the pill in her mouth and took a sip of water to wash it down. Dusk and Luna shook their heads. Nothing good could possibly come out of all of this. Half an hour later, while everyone was sleeping in their room, Scott tossed and turned in his bed. He just couldn't get comfortable. He got up and stretched and walked over towards the bathroom. He went inside and closed the door. When he flicked it on, however, he was now inside of a boiler room. He looked himself in the door, but it was gone. There was nothing there but more boilers and decks. What the hell? He asked to himself. Hell is exactly where you are, Scott heard a scary voice say. He looked around and saw the hideous Freddy Krueger walking towards him. A wave of terror broke over Scott as he saw Freddy scraping the blade of one of his knife fingers across the rusty railing. Scott, 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 should we do with you? Freddy taunted. This is a dream. This is a dream. Wake up! Scott squinted his eyes and lightly slapped his cheek. Before Scott knew it, Freddy was up close to his face. No, it's not just a dream, Scott, Freddy said, holding his gloved-faced hand up to Scott's face. It's real. Scott tried to shove Freddy, but he only moved him back a couple of inches. Ooh, strong guy. Come on, Scott. You said you could take me. How about we test this as a fury? Freddy asked. Scott punched Freddy a couple times in the face and kicked him in the nuts. Freddy groaned in pain as Scott kept hitting him. After a moment, Scott started panting. Freddy groaned in pain on his knees. How did you like that, bro, huh? Scott asked. Freddy then looked up and smiled, and Scott couldn't believe it. Freddy was fighting the pain, got up on his feet, and Krueger started laughing. Now it's my turn, he said, before punching Scott hard in the face. He woke up. Scott looked around and recognized that he was still in his hotel room. Oh, geez, he said, putting his hand to his head. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Scott jumped up by the sound of it, but soon got over to it. He got out of the bed and walked towards the door. He then looked over for the people, and to his surprise, he saw Thorn standing there. He unlocked the door and opened it. Thorn, is something wrong? He asked. I had another nightmare, Thorn answered. Come on in. He then stood aside, and Thorn walked in. This was so weird. I was having just nightmares too, Scott said as he shut the door. Was it about Krueger? Thorn asked. Yeah. Thorn now looked horrified now. Come on, let's sit on the bed, Scott said. They sat on the bed, and Thorn sighed. I'm really scared, Scott, she said. I know, Scott replied. Thorn rubbed her eyes in exhaustion. I just want to go to sleep, but I can't. He'll kill me if I do, she cried. It's okay, come here, Scott said, pulling Thorn close to his arms. Scott, I'm so scared, she began to cry. I know, it's okay. The moment was kind of awkward, but it felt so good that Thorn let Scott comfort her. As the hug ended, their faces got closer. Scott hesitated, but Thorn placed her hands on his face and kissed him softly on the lips. As the kissing became more fierce, Thorn caressed Scott and began to pull off his shirt. Once it was off, he began to push him in front of the bed so he could rest his head on the pillow. Thorn got on top of him and started kissing him more. Needless to say, Scott was enjoying this. He had been crushing on Thorn ever since the Hex Girls had hired him 6 months ago. She'd always seemed to reject his advantages, though he always wondered if Krueger was the reason she was coming to him now. But whatever it was, he was thankful for it. Scott opened his eyes and leaned back in total shock when he saw Krueger's face looking down at him. Freddy laughed loudly and evilly. Scott screamed, Sweet dreams, honey! Freddy laughed. He lifted his gloved hands and stabbed Scott right through his eyes.